Welcome back, everyone, to another One Piece chapter review. Today, I'm your boy Malik, and today we'll be covering One Piece chapter 1186. Say that 10 more times and see how long you last. Titled Once More, all right? And this chapter pretty much wraps up the Brook flashback, all right? That started way back and all the way in 1180, I believe 82. Is when this flashback started, and so here we are again. We are now wrapping this up. We're getting the gut-wrenching conclusion that is Brook's origin story, how he left about a convoy in the West Blue, how we don't see how he joins up with the Rumbar crew, but the implications are this is how he basically set out to sea from here. And then we all wrap up to back to the present, and we see the continuation of Loki's fight with IMU and the epic return that is Monkey D. Luffy just bursting onto the stage to put belts to asses on the tyrant. All right, but before we begin, all right, please, for me, I'm a small new channel, and anything you do goes a long way, helps me out the demon that is the algorithmus. So please, for me, drop a like, comment, subscribe, really helps me out against the algorithm, and let's get into it. All right, so the chapter starts off with this really sweet cover page request, and it is Loki as a child in the underworld drawing a picture of Ida. Now, those of you who don't remember, Ida was Loki's effective adoptive mother after his blood mother, Estrid, had basically cursed and abandoned him to be the villain that is the boogeyman of Elbalf, and where he is shunned and hated by everybody. And so Loki had a lot of trusting issues with Ida, but here in this cover request, it's an adorable image of him drawing a picture of her, and she's bringing a picnic basket with food with all the beasts in the underworld that Loki will eventually tame. And so that's just very heartwarming, all right? Because I'll tell you right now, the heartwarming and adorableness stops here, because from here it is all down round this hall. Okay, get your tear boxes out, right? Get your tissues out. Get everything. Okay, you are going to be crying your eyes out because we're about to see some serious mental trauma, like literally and figuratively. And so the chapter pretty much just cuts away to Brook entering the throne room, all right? And then we see the shots of Esperia where people are telling their soldiers, don't give up, keep fighting, we're not done, all right? All right, winning independence is the only way to ensure our survival, because we know in the One Piece world that if you are not a member nation of the world government, you are effectively a lawless zone, and your people can be attacked, killed, and sold off as slaves at random. You have no rights. And so the people of Esperia are fighting for their freedom, all right? And their survival. And Brook enters the throne room, and I want you to put yourself in his shoes. You have devoted yourself to this country. You have devoted yourself to the royal family. You think of the king as like your surrogate big brother. And within a few days, everything just gets shattered. And Brook, in this whirlwind of emotions, he sees the king. He sees his big brother, King Leuven, or Reuven, depending on the translation. He sees him dead, and then he just stumbles in. He's like, "Wait, what?" And then you see a shot of Shrui, the man who we will now know as Shuri's biological father, a member of the Maynmar family, Groh. And then we see a demon bird who we thought was Marcus Mars, but that is not the case. Apparently, IMU is here present, and we'll explain why. And then you just see him, Brook shouting, "Help! Help! We need a medic! The king is in critical condition, please, we need a medic! Big bro!" And Brook is pleading, begging for King Reuven not to die, please, okay? And this, again, just put yourself in this guy's shoes. You have been through hell. Everything you've been through in life is because of this man, all right? And Brook just cannot accept that Reuven is dead. He just can't. He's just bleeding. Please, come on. Please don't die on me. Come on. It's going to be fine. Wake up, please don't die. And Reuven is already dead. Like, he's dead at this point. He's dead. And it's gone. And then we cut away immediately to Brook just shouting, "Big bro." And then he remembers everything the days he met Reuven, all right? When they were in the junkyard, all right? And Reuven was pretending not to be a prince. And then, we're seeing all the moments that Brook fell in love with this guy as his mentor, as his benefactor, who Brook admitted to himself that this is my benefactor. I owe this man so much. And to the point when he thinks it's Shrui, he's not, I hope that I never see you again, my patricidal princess. And Brook just cannot accept this. He can't accept that his big bro is gone. All right. He's just pleading, come on, I'm crying for a medic. Please, come on, somebody, anybody, answer me, please. It's just, again, this is a horrifying expression. Oda is basically twisting the knife. Mind you, we already knew this in the present storyline that Reuven is dead. He was murdered by his daughter, and Brook eventually is going to leave the battle convoy, end up on the Rumbar crew, where he's stuck 50 years on a ship with the dead bodies of his comrades. So Brook has by no means led a charmed life, but they absolutely just cannot drive this in, all right? And then we go see Brook just continue to shout, big bro. And then something very ominous I did not see coming. We see Imu in his blobus form. Yes, Imu, saying Imu Norono was there. Now, he wasn't physically there. He was possessing. I am almost 99% sure that was Groh, who we reveal as Shuri's biological father, Gunko's father, and he was possessing him. How that works, I don't know, because we saw a demonic bird form. Can Imu manifest the different demon forms of the yokai forms of the Gorosei when he decides to possess somebody who has the deep enough covenant? I don't know. Questions for another day, but we see Imu proper. Imu was there. Imu was there, okay? And Brook is continuing to shout, where is the damn medic? Please, come on, somebody help me. Help my bro, the king, please, somebody, anybody. And nobody's hear this, all right? And then we have Imu saying reply, the sudden intrusion is quite the inconvenience. And then we just see the continuation of it, where we see Brook just standing over Reuven's body, all right? And then we see Shuri, now at this point, who's now transitioned fully into her demonic form, has now embraced her celestial dragon ego, if it were, and she basically says, Brook, you know, that guy is already dead, right? Now, this is a very cold line, and this kind of makes me question, okay, how much of this is obviously her. She's been Domi reversied. The thing is, keep in mind when Shuri was remembering, when Gunko was remembering her past as Princess Shuri, when Colin was crying out for his father, Scopper, she begins to remember about her own past. And she's like, we clearly see an image of her with long hair crying, shouting, Father. And then we also cut away to her remembering her days with Brook and his dreams to become a pirate. So clearly the lights are on, but nobody's home, all right? And then Brook is like, immediately like, wait, what? Huh? What? He's furious. And he says, who are you? And what have you done with Princess Shuri? You're not Princess Shuri. And I'm glad he's doing this because people have been questioning, like, hey, wait, when you get Domi reversed, are you saying you're no longer you and nobody remembers you at all? Like, did something happen? And it's just, no, this is exactly what it is. You know, you can see the horns, you can see the wings, okay? And then Brook is like, you see, I've watched you my whole life. All right, since you were a girl, since you were born, I've changed your diapers for God's sakes, okay? There's no way you're capable of bloody murder. Patricide at that. There's no way my Shuri is capable of this, okay? All right? There's nothing I don't know about you, okay? There's nothing. I know everything about you. Your favorite food, your hobbies, your interests. I know everything about you, Princess Shuri. I helped raise you, okay? I'm like your uncle. All right? And then, you know, and then Brook draws his sword and he's just ready to fight. And then he's just like ready to go. And then Shuri walks up to Brook and says, all right, then tell me, Brook, did you know that I'm a celestial dragon? Now, this pretty much confirms the theories that we've all pretty much could piece together that Reuven is not Shuri's biological father. The one who is his biological father is the Maynmar member, Groh. Again, this was pretty much confirming what we knew right away when Brook said, oh yeah, Princess Shuri, did you know a celestial dragon visited Esperia once? It caused a lot of stress. Apparently your mom was under a lot of anxiety and she was bedridden for months. Shortly after that, she married your dad, the king, and you were born. And fans could pretty much piece together, okay, this is a Jenny situation. Now, I hear a lot of people saying One Piece is sexist, and I hear how every strong, independent woman gets assaulted. And while there is definitely cases of this, I think those situations are very unique. Taking point, for example, what happened with Candle. She said that she was already dead at this point in the story, and that one of the things that Oda did is like, okay, I need to show exactly how she was born and how she's a member of the Maynmar family with Shuri. And we also have situations where
We have Virginia, obviously, is the most extreme example where they're taken as a wife, which is basically a sex slave for all intents and purposes, that gets tossed aside when they're done with it. Now, again, there is One Piece sexist. Probably, I'm going to say no, because for every one of those, you have instances like where you have, for example, let's say Robin, you got Nami, then you have situations where you have people like Otohime, and you've got people like Rebecca, and then, other cases, people bring up like Viola and her relationship with Doflamingo. Again, we can take context inside and just be like, yeah, no, she was assaulted by Doflamingo. This is almost clearly assault, and I'm not sure how we could word it either way, but I'm not gonna say One Piece is sexist. I'm not. But this is Oda's basically simplest way of showing how brutal and evil the Celestial Dragons are, and how they pretty much see people as their, property, and don't really give a shit about anybody but themselves. Now, here's the thing also. Some fans have theorized that Kandel was maybe in love with the Celestial Dragon, Groh, Gunko's biological father. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because there's a line where she says, oh, there's somebody I do like, but he's above my status. And is that referring to a Celestial Dragon? I don't know. We can make our own minds on that. I don't know. But that just, to me, is one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know. It seems kind of shady. But again, Kandel, I am so sorry. I owe you an apology. You are not a rat. You are not a rat. You are not a rat. Okay. You were a good woman who loved her kid, loved her country, and just got absolutely screwed over in the worst way possible. All right. And now we cut back to the story when she tells him, hey, Shrui tells Brook, hey, do you know my Celestial Dragon? And she keeps referring to Reuven as this guy, not father, not daddy, as this guy wasn't my real father. Did you know that? And Brook immediately is just horrified. He's like, wait, don't call him that. No, be respectful. Don't do that. No. Do not call him this guy. He is your father, okay? He is my big bro. He is your father, okay? Don't you dare ever disrespect him like that, okay? And then we pretty much just cut down right to Shuri's reaction, where she's like, can you prove that? And then he's like, what are you even saying? Of course I can prove it, all right? You are the son of King, you're the child of King Reuven, okay? That is a fact. Objectively, that is a fact, all right? And Brook also says, that's irrelevant, all right, when it comes to bond between the parent and a child. And this is reinforcing the classic theme in One Piece, that your found family is your real family. The family you choose is the one that you know, okay? We obviously know about, for example, let's use Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. They were not blood brothers. They were not related biologically, but they grew up together and considered each other family. By that logic, Whitebeard's crew was the same way. They all called him Oyaji. They all called him Pops. They all called him Dad. So every one of his crewmates who was a son to him and a child to him, they loved. Strawhats, same thing. Not exactly as formal with the titles and everything, but they cape up for each other, and they are nakama. They are ride or die. And Shuri responds, it isn't, in a very chilling manner. I should mention that when you look at the text for Shuri when she speaks, it's very, like demonic, like the same way IMU speaks. It isn't, all right? This is life-changing news, okay? She explains, this is life-changing news, Brook. I should never have been here. I should have been living up in luxury the last 16 years of my life, okay? Everything I've known is a complete lie. It's all based off a lie, okay? Do you understand how angry this makes me? Now, from a normal person's perspective, you'd be upset if you found out that your parents were lying to you about where you came from, who you really are. I could see why this would be a thing. But the way Shuri's taking it is to the extreme degree, which is everything about me is a lie, and therefore all of this isn't real, so I don't give a fuck. They can all burn. Now, we know this isn't really Shuri. She's been dumbly reversed. She's now under Imu's thumb, and she can't get away with it, because now she's going to enter the Covenant system real soon, and she's going to become Imu's personal attendant. And it's going to explain why Shuri was taken, because doing all this for just to get her was a bit extreme, but there's a reason for this. All right, and then she says, and then Shuri drops a bombshell that's pretty big, and this is probably one of the more tragic things of this whole thing. And the demand for 1,000 slaves isn't true. This guy, Reuven, just didn't want to hand me over. And then Brook's like, please, for the love of God, stop calling him that. Please don't, just stop. And this just continues, and Shuri's not stopping. She keeps saying this guy. was a good for nothing who pointlessly led his people to their doom. Now, let me take a break here a second. I don't think anything Reuben did was pointless. He was her father, and he decided, okay, I need to protect my kid. Now, even if this is true, now again, this is all coming from Shuri's mouth via Domu Reversi. We can't take all this as fact, as scripture. So I'm going to take everything she's saying with a grain of salt about, they just wanted me. They didn't want 1,000 slaves. Now, again, this could be true, but we don't, anything the world government says, I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't buy. So is this true? Possibly. Could be true. Is it likely that the world government was just using this as an excuse to basically nab her? Yeah, sure. But again, the whole idea is that Shuri's been Domu reversed, and she's basically, what it does, it takes all of your good qualities, inverts it. So her love for her father and her devotion to her home and friends gets reversed. Throw in the existential crisis of being, hey, you're a celestial dragon. That guy you think was your father? Nope. He wasn't your daddy. You are not the father, King Reuben. You are not the father. And so we just see that play out from there. And in like this just horrifying panel, she says, this is all pointless. This guy is this man right here is dead to me, okay? He is dead to me, okay? Both figuratively and literally. I killed him because he's a good for nothing who got his people killed in a war, all because he couldn't handle that he was being cucked. So that's from her perspective, all right? And then we just continue of basically saying, sure, just going on and saying, this was my responsibility, okay? This was my responsibility to make him take responsibility for his actions, okay? With the king dead, game over. Checkmate. We're done. And Brook brings up the fair point of, wait, if our country's defeated, if the king's dead, we become a lawless zone. Like, you know what that means, right? You know what happens. We can be killed, enslaved, raided by pirates. Like, we have no rights. And then Shuri responds, I don't care. That is no longer my concern. Again, she has been just Domi reversed, and she does not give a damn. The lights are on, but nobody is home. All right, then we cut away to the man of the hour, the new daddy, the Maynmar member, God's Knight, and we give him a full spread, okay? His name is Saint Maynmar Groh, all right? And this could be read as glow. So Shuri, candle, glow, or grow. So there you go. Have fun with that. Say those names 3 times in a row. And then Groh is sitting back wearing the exact same style hat that Gunko wears right now in the story. And then he says, I remember you now. There was a kid with an afro among Candel's attendants. You weren't allowed to come near me. And this is, this is almost 90% sure what happened. This man Groh was sent on a mission in Esperia, and he saw Candel, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I want that. And then he proceeds to do what he does. And we see the after effects from there, and he responds, oh, I remember you now. Oh, I remember now. Now I remember you. Yeah, you're that little shit that was always running around, or yeah, no, I remember you now. And then, we get a close-up of his face. He has the heterochromia, just like Gunko. So yes, this is Gunko's father. This is Gunko's biological father. That, or another fan theory is that IMU possessed Groh and made Gunko when he was, possessing him with him. So that's why there's 2 different colored eyes. Is that a possibility? Possible. I mean, we see IMU right here, and we know he's possessing Groh because we thought it was Marcus Mars. No, this is this is all Groh. He's here. And then we just continue from there. And then Brook just sees the eyes, and then he just like, oh my God, oh God, oh no, this isn't good, this isn't good, this isn't good, this isn't good. Brook's like, he's gonna crash out. Okay, he's clearly like, just again, you're losing everything in the span of a few minutes, a few days, and he's just like, he can't process this. And then Groh continues to speak, and he's like, normally I wouldn't give a shit if I had a kid out here in the West. I wouldn't. I've been doing things to women. I've been cracking holes all my life. All right, I'm over 100 years old. All right, to retrieve a single brat. But this kid, he's referring to Shuri, possesses those mismatched eyes. Being born with that is a truly rare trait, and the Great One desires them. I didn't awaken them myself, but she might. So what is he talking about? Now, I've seen fans theorize this. Is this some kind of like magic eye that lets you control and see the future? Is it the Rinnegan? No, but seriously, this is clearly, I don't know if this is based off like it being influenced by Naruto or other fictions or Hunter x Hunter, which came back this week. We see him explain she could awaken those mismatched eyes. Now, I've seen people say, okay, well, Imu's got, ring eyes. Mihawk's got ring eyes. And Mihawk, apparently, and I've seen people theorize this, that Mihawk also had the ability to project future sight into other people. So when Luffy was going to attack him at Marineford, Luffy immediately paused and realized, oh no, I'm going to lose my arms if I attack him. So we don't know exactly what power this is, but it's clearly that Imu definitely wants, all right? He clearly wants this power on his hand. And then he has Groh's talking, and he's like, okay, thou hast talked too much, Groh. Oh, please forgive me, Great One. And then, he's just like, hey, Shuri, time to go, baby girl. Let's go. Daddy's got work to do. Daddy's got a double shift tomorrow. And then they just proceed to go. And then Brook, who's just on the ground crying, he can't process this. Okay, he just cannot process this. And then she's like, wait, and she's like, hold on, Daddy, 1 second. Just hold on, Daddy, 1 second. And Brook is like, this can't be real, right? This can't be real. This isn't happening. I must be dreamer. There's no way this is real, right? There's no way this is real. And then he's like, I used to change your diapers. I've known you since you were born. I helped raise you. Like, what is this? He can't, again, put this in his perspective. This man has basically seen within a span of a year him lose his mentor, his big bro, and now the girl who he is effectively her uncle, all be taken away from him. And now she has just murdered his big bro. And now we are seeing the gut-wrenching conclusion of this, okay? And so then she just tells her, Brook is just crying. He can't hurt her. He can't. And then, what's the old saying goes? In One Piece, a blade that cuts down everything with indiscriminate slaughter isn't a blade at all. And so Shuri is no longer there. It's now Gunko proper, right? And then, Shuri responds and says, you're so patronizing, shedding tears like this. What's wrong with you? Why are you being a little bitch about this, okay? This is beyond pathetic, okay? What happened to the guy I admired? What happened to Humming Sword Brook? What happened to him? And then Shuri proceeds to walk up to him, and she says, I deserve stronger protection. If I go to the Holy Land, I won't need you anymore. So you're dead to me. And then we see this diabolical, this just evil panel of Shuri charging up Brook with the Humming Sword slash, and then Brook remembering, all right? Remembering all the times he had with Shuri when she was a little girl, with King Reuven, all right? And then he says, he's like, to me, you always were an angel, but now you look like a demon. I couldn't protect Big Bro, the man who saved my life. And so Brook, who's now been forced to come to the realization that Shuri's no longer there, it's just a demon. His home is gone, his big bro has been murdered, and he just throws away his sword. It's just like, I can't do this. He gives up. He willingly accepts death. And then we just see basically this absolutely just like this, like, again, people need to understand how dark this is. And she just sounds Gavant Bon Avant, one of Brook's slashes, and she drives a blade right through his goddamn skull. Just like bam. And Brook's remembering the song. From kings to cattle, from kings to chattel. Of the dead, you'll find only bones left behind. He's remembering the song lyrics he sang when he was in the junkyard, and then he sang to Shuri. And then we just see Shuri just run the blade through him. Now, I've seen Brook survives this, obviously. But man, this is the second time in One Piece we've seen somebody get stabbed in the head with a sword and not die. Like, is that a thing now? Like, are we doing this now, One Piece Oda? Are we doing a thing now where people can get stabbed in the head and just not die? I mean, Brook doesn't have, better question is, how did Brook survive this with no helmet? And Elder Yaru did. Now, granted, Elder Yaru has the blade stuck in his head with the brain, but I have no idea. I don't know how this works, but okay, fine, it's One Piece. Just check your common sense at the door. And we just see this horrible panel of Brook just laying there with the blade, and Shuri just rips it out as he falls to his knees, and he collapses, and then he just sees Shuri and Groh leaving the cathedral, leaving the castle, and then, next cutaway, we see Brook just, they're surrounded by all of his comrades in the battle convoy, and they all shout, Commander Brook, Commander Brook, Commander Brook, are you awake? Are you with us? And the men there are just like absolutely just stunned. Like, okay, he's awake. Good. Okay, man, I'm shocked. You took a sword to the head. You should be dead. Like, legit. Like, we didn't think you were gonna make it. We had a funeral spot picked out for you and everything. We thought you were dead. We legit thought your ass was grass. But no, you survived. All right. And it's a miracle. You missed major blood vessels and the brainstem. I'm like, did he? Did he really? Like, I'm sorry, but no. It's One Piece. Just deal with it. Like, clearly Brook is like suppressing this day. He forgets all the trauma and everything. But like, there's no like, maybe he just forgot. Because like, honestly, you get stabbed in the head. Like, what do you know? Like, here's a stat for you. If you get shot in the head, there is a 90% chance you die. Now, mind you, that all depends on like a lot of factors. If you're getting medical care in time, if they can stop the bleeding and swelling. But if you get shot in the head, there's a 90% chance you die. Okay, like that is a brutal stat. And he took a sword to the head. Okay, which bullets much faster, much more powerful. But still, it just miracle he survived. Obviously, plot is the reason, but still. All right. And Brook gets up. He asks about the king, and then they say, "Oh well, not sure we should really talk about this. Probably should let you rest. How much do you remember, Commander Brook?" Again, he got stabbed in the head, so there's no way he's going to remember everything. He's like, "We shouldn't give you too much stress. We should let you rest up." And he's like, "No, please just tell me now. Okay, just tell me exactly what happened." Okay, where to begin? Let's see. The king's dead. The country's gone to hell, where people are being enslaved, fleeing, and everything's on fire. Just what? Just again, just the shit this guy goes through. Like, just the shit he's gone through is just being like, okay, yeah, by the way, everybody's dead. Everybody is gone, left, enslaved. Everything's on fire. Yeah, it's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. Esperia is finished. It's toast. And then you just see like, and Brooks is like, yeah, tell me. And they're like, okay, we'll tell you. All right, we didn't want to do this. We wanted to let you rest, but okay, we'll tell you. We'll tell you. And then they say the king's failed, all right? And then they keep talking. They say, we saw Princess Shrui boarding government ship. And, this is just Brooks like, okay. And then it all comes just like rushing to him like a flood. Everything just comes rushing back to him. All right. He had forgotten it and now he's being forced to remember it. All right. And then, all right, we see him just remembering everything that happened. And then he says the members of the battle convoy make the comment that most of the citizens of the country have fled and now they're refugees across other kingdoms. But as far as we know, yeah, Esperia is done. It's finished. We're done. And then Brook just immediately just screams like, ah, ah, ah. He screams. And he's just horrified at everything that happens. And again, this has all come rushing back to him, all right? And they're saying, oh no, Commander, stay with us, stay with us. He's clearly in shock. And he's reopened one of the wound, obviously, in his head. And he's just like crying, bawling his eyes out. This man has just lost everything. He has severe mental, physical trauma. And he's just clearly spiraling, okay? And Brook is just crying his eyes out. And now we cut back to the present, okay? We are now officially done with the Brook flashback. Now, I don't think we're going to get any more flashbacks in this arc. I could be wrong. I wouldn't be against it though. I mean, at this point, we're already here. Like, hey, Oda, we're already, getting some sick ass lore. Could you drop some more flashbacks? Could you give us some, throw a bone away our way? We already got the rock shit. Could you just give us some more? But no, in all seriousness, I don't think we're going to get any more flashbacks in this arc. I think we're just here for the rest of this fight in the present because everything's been set up, okay? Now the stakes have been raised even higher now with the reveal of Shrui and Gunko being Brook's friend / former protege. Now, as Brook is finished retelling his story, which, by the way, it is so funny to me because I don't know how long this would have taken in universe, but this probably would have taken like, say, 5 minutes max, 10 minutes, if you didn't include any of like the info dump shit. And then Brook's talking. He's like, back then, I didn't even know devil fruits existed, okay? Granted, devil fruits are a rare thing in the One Piece world. Most people never get them. We see a lot of them because obviously the plot requires it and we're following the main characters. But the average citizen in One Piece would never even seen a devil fruit. They're extremely rare. They're more common on things like the Grand Line in the New World, but still, those things happen, all right? And then Brook's talking, okay? Princess Shrui seems so different from the king's daughter, okay? She just, after the king's murder, things just completely changed, okay? And it was chilling. She looked like a demon. Now, he always thought he was just hallucinating, that he was suppressing the kind of trauma. But given that everything that's happened here, with the demons, the Domi reverses, and everything that's happened, and remembering how Shrui ran to Brook and basically said, "Get out of here, run, leave Brook, flee, you got to get out of here." And he's just like, is this, now he's starting to wonder, is she a victim as well? Is this all just a horrible tragedy? And the answer is yes, obviously. She was Domi reversed. She got turned into a celestial dragon squire. She was brought up to be basically Imu's personal attendant because Imu loves the sexy blue-haired woman. And apparently Shrui has the power to awaken a special set of eyes. Definitely not the Rinnegan or some shit like that. But no, she doesn't. And then, Brook asked the Strawhats a question, all right? A very, very important question, all right? Hey, guys, you think it's okay if I put my faith in Princess Shrui once more? Because she's a victim too. And we immediately see a cutaway of Shrui, a.k.a. Gunko, frozen in the block of ice. Well, Brook remembering when Gunko was being possessed by Imu, hey, you got to run, Brook, leave now, all right? And then, because remember, even as Gunko, Shuri's subconscious rose through because she still subconsciously liked all of Brook's music. She still liked it. All right, that's something that she actively enjoyed doing. And so this is obviously just hammering home that horrible feeling that Brook had. He's like, oh, God damn, this is horrible. This is horrible. I can't believe this shit. Oh, man, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is actually happening, okay? And so then we just continue to cut away. And Brook remembering all the times he had with Shrui growing up. And then, all those moments, all right? And Brook, with bawling tears in his eyes, shouts, I want to save her. I want to save Princess Shrui. Damn straight, let's do it, all right? I personally don't think it's going to work because the covenant system cannot be broken. Once you enter into a level 2 covenant system with Imu, yeah, that's it. You do not have a say anymore. Your free will is gone. Now, not sure exactly. Shrui has not aged. She has I'm almost betting she has the abyssal covenant, right? Not the deep sea, level 3 one, okay? This means that she does not age. Yeah, I don't know how you can save her because she's bound in service to Imu. Like, the only way you could do that is if I guess you could kill Imu, but I'm going to guess that means that all the aging and years you would have accrued just naturally catches up to you like that. Keep in mind that Shrui is chronologically 77 years old. This makes her 2 years younger than Sengoku and about a year younger than someone like Garp. So not sure how this would work, but yeah, no, this is, you want to save her. Okay. And also keep in mind, she's still frozen in Ragnar's ice and Imu tried to blast it. I don't think anybody can get out of this. All right. And Brook responds, please, everyone, lend me your strength. And I love all of the Straw Hats' response because the Straw Hats are ride or die. They are the type of niggas you want when you in the trenches. They be ride and be like, yo, fam, we're going to run this fade against these cheaps. All right, let's go. And so we just see it. And so then Brook's saying, all right, please, everyone, lend me your strength. And my goat Jinbei, boss Jinbei, is like, bro, come on. You already know what. I'm down. I am DTF, down to fight. All right, let's go. I'm ready to do this. Let's smash the ice. And, Nami and her just like, saying, especially Nami, who loves kids, who hear how Brook helped raise this little girl, was like, I wonder if a bolt of lightning will work. Okay, I wonder if Zeus's powers will work. And then Frankie, bawling his eyes out, but like, Radical B will definitely do the trick. Again, we just don't see how this works out. Usopp is like, fam, what do we do? Is there any explosives? What if we pop grins? Will that work? And then Brook immediately just is like hauling ass. He's like, he just runs because Brook is the fastest Straw Hat. He hauls ass and he just goes. He's going to save Princess Shrui. Now, here's the thing. I don't think it's going to work. I just don't. I don't think it's going to work. Remember, Loki himself explained, when Ragnar freezes you with his ice powers, nobody but Ragnar can unthaw it, okay? We know this because Imu tried to unthaw the ice, all right, with the omen powers, and that didn't do shit. So I don't think they're going to break out of it. The only person who can do it is Ragnar, okay? If Ragnar wills it, then it'll be unfrozen. I don't even think somebody like, say, Sakazuki's ice, his Magu no Mi powers could work. I don't think Aokiji, who's literally made of ice, could undo it. Maybe he could, Aokiji, maybe. But I don't think Akainu could. Kizuru, no. Sabo's Maramara no Mi, no. I just don't think anybody could, okay? So, yeah. Ragnar can only unfreeze it. So Ragnar eventually is going to have to leave Loki's side and then come here and unthrow it, all right? So as we finish Brooks' Crybaby backstory part 2, Electric Boogaloo, we get the Walrus School cafeteria, all right? Luffy has now eaten up his food. He's ready to go. He's taken off his Elbalf boots. He's strapped up. He's like, okay, this guy here, okay, I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to throw down the gauntlet. I'm ready to beat some asses, all right? Luffy explains, okay, there's a new crazy guy on Elbalf, all right? So this means he's trying to take over Elbalf. He's my enemy too. Let's fucking go. And, Luffy explains, all right? I'm overflowing with power, all right? I'm ready to go Super Saiyan on this bitch. And he just says, I'm overflowing with power. I'm feeling right now, I don't think I can lose. Now, there's a few lines you never say in a battle manga. Saying the feeling, I don't think I can lose, is a good one because you pretty much are guaranteeing you're going to get an L, you're going to get an ass kicking because, as I'll explain at the end of the chapter, I don't think this is going to be all good for simple as Luffy. Now, I don't think he'll lose, but I mean, if Strawhats lose, that would be pretty dark, but I wouldn't be against it. It'd be like, okay, Oda, give us stakes, raise the stakes for us. And so we continue on from there. And then we see the continuation of the fight of the millennia between the war god of Elbalf, Loki, and his trusty companion, Ragnar, the ice squirrel. And then we see Saint Imunarona, the king of the world, the devil man, fighting, okay? And we just see the sky filled with thunder and lightning. And Loki's just like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to chuck lightning at you and just press A. Right? And then Loki's like, targeting kids, huh? That's some bitch behavior right there for the world government. Figure you guys play dirty. And then Imu's like, you don't know. Okay, I'm going to tell him a dirty little secret. Okay, this is going to be fun, kid. I'm going to give you a history lesson, okay? He goes on. Thou art ignorant of the reason then. Shall I enlighten thee? And Imu is getting ready to do a Void Century flashback. He's like, you know what? We've already had two flashbacks in this arc. Let's do a third. We're going to start a Void Century flashback right here in Elbalf. And Loki's like, no, Imu. We just left one. No, we're not doing this shit. And Imu explains, 800 years ago, okay, the giant race were defeated in a bid to rescue their children. I'm going to say this again. 800 years ago, the giants was defeated because they were trying to rescue their children, okay? All right, 800 years ago. What are you even saying? Like, Loki's like, 800 years ago. What are you talking about? What are you saying? And then he says, and Imu's like, a few centuries is not nearly enough to challenge the nature of a race. I wouldn't say a few centuries isn't enough. I'd say for the giants, it's not enough, given the fact that humans, on average, let's say, for example, in the One Piece world, live to 100. That's still like 7 generations. Now, you could probably change people's attitudes and beliefs, but 800 years is enough time. Just giants, on average, live for like 300 years. That's the average. And there's some giants like Elder Yarul who live for 400 years. So I don't think this would have worked. Changing behaviors would have worked with giants because they live way longer than humans do. So it was a flawed plan to begin with. And then he proceeds to go on, all right? Without fail, thine people will inevitably will bend the knee when thine offspring is taken. Ignorance of the significance of what occurring is irrelevant. History always repeats itself. 'Tis already too late. Thou art all slaves of Mu. Okay, and I'm going to kind of break down what I think before I wrap this chapter up, okay? So Imu is basically saying 800 years ago, the giants were defeated because they were focused on protecting their kids. Now, I want people to remember in the beginning of Elbalf, the anime is going to show this scene coming up with the Harly Text. And I'm going to reference the Harly Text when I break this chapter down at the end. When Frankie stumbles upon it, he's like, this seems like a kid's drawing. What is this? And that leads me to believe that, yes, a lot of the giants, the parents especially, died during this battle. And they based the kids themselves on the Tree of Adam. Basically graffiti, wrote a painting, like painted the sidewalk like kids do, about what happened on this day and what they think is going to happen. So, yes, that Harly Text painting was made by actual children. Literal children painted that when Frankie brought it up. And so that leads me to believe that, yeah, the parents all died and the giants basically had to go flee Elbalf, go back to Elbalf and everything, and it goes from there. And then, he basically says, it doesn't matter if you know the truth or not. History is always going to repeat itself. I win. I won back then. I'm going to win again. And you're all my slaves already. And again, just Loki's perspective. You're what? You pieces of shit fucked over my dad. You came to my country, tried to enslave our people. You're destroying our shit, and now you're trying to make me your slave? No, you piece of shit. You prick. Are you really trying? What are you trying to say? All right. And then we cut away to the final panels of the chapter, right? As Loki rears back his hammer Ragnar, he's ready to be, okay, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to just keep trying to kill you and see what happens. And then we see Luffy charge up. He sees him, and then he tells him, hey, you jackass. Hey, you dumbass, all right? Get the hell off Elbalf. And Luffy just peers back his hammer. He's just like, and bam, right in the face. And we're seeing IMU get absolutely just like in the face, get fucked. And chapters end, all right? And Luffy's telling him to get the hell out of Elbalf, all right? Chapter ends, all right? So let me give you my breakdown, okay? First off, that punch. That is clearly based off the scene with Charlos and Sabaody. Charlos shot up Hachi, and Luffy's like, okay, screw this. And he just, bam, unloads on him, all right? So that's the first thing I saw I wanted to bring up. Second thing, okay, is this relates to the Harly text. Okay, now I want to bring this up so I can look at this exactly so I can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so we know about the first world, second world. Okay, I'm going to read the text translation for the third world, okay? And this is from the Library of Ohara, Artor, and everything. He provided a breakdown on these, so go check it out. All right, I'm going to read the third world, okay? The century would become the void century, as information of it is wiped, and those left behind shall inherit the will to carry on the day of the promise. They'll learn of the poneglyphs of the Kozuki clan. Their symbol is the broken crescent moon. And what they tell. The sun god returns, dancing, laughing. He leads in the face of the world's end. The sun god will return. A new dawn will arrive. He and they will surely meet again. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're in the third world right now because Luffy has now met IMU in person. Yeah, we are now in the third world. We're now in the final stretch right here. Okay, that's my second thought, okay? Third thought, and this is probably just wrapping it up, okay? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Luffy has now punched out every member of Celestial Dragon. He punched out Charles, just a regular Celestial Dragon. He's punched out members of the Gorosei, okay? He's done that. He's punched out members of the Gods Knights. He's done that. Actually, no, he punched out members. He did the Gorosei first, and then he did Gods Knights with Summers. And now he's literally punching out the Devilman, the ruler of the world, Saint Imu Narona, okay? And so, yeah, that's that, okay? It's just trying to immediately break this down, all right? But, yeah, that's the end of chapter this week, all right? We got no break next week, so we got a new chapter to follow through on that. Got lots to break down here, but until then, I'm your boy Malik. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace out. Now, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to get this?